The rain hit the sidewalk like it knew her pain. Kalia stood frozen, 4 suitcases sitting beside her like abandoned soldiers. Her hand trembled as she held a crumpled note with sharp, slanted handwriting. "If you still want to stay here, we've fixed up the garage for you, your loving daughter-in-law." Her heart thudded in her chest. She hadn't even reached the door of her own house. The taxi that had dropped her off had just turned the corner, and already, her world was upside down. "No, this can't be real," she muttered, reading the note again. Kalia had just returned from a week-long visit to her sister in Seattle. She'd missed her armchair, her rose garden, her quiet evenings. All she wanted now was a cup of tea in her familiar home. Instead, she found herself locked out of the house she had lived in for 35 years. She pulled out her phone with shaky fingers and called the bank. A woman's voice answered after a few rings. "Yes, Mrs. Parker, your last mortgage payment of $1,867 was received last Friday," the representative said. Kalia didn't respond immediately. Her throat felt tight. "Thank you," she whispered and ended the call. She looked up. Thick clouds rolled across the sky like a warning. And then, rain. Fat drops splashed onto her head and shoulders as she stared at the house. The one she built with her late husband, Thomas. They had painted those walls together. Planted every single tree. Raised their only son, Eric, right inside. Now her bags were outside like trash. Like she didn't belong. Dragging her suitcases behind her, Kalia walked toward the side of the house. The garage door was unlocked. Inside, a thin mattress sat against the wall. A tiny nightstand, an old lamp. A metal rack held her clothes. Her books and photo frames were stacked in boxes labeled Mom's Stuff. She knelt beside one box and opened it slowly. Her wedding photo lay on top, her smiling beside Thomas. Beneath it, pictures of Eric as a toddler. As a teen. College graduation. "What happened, Thomas?" she whispered, her voice cracking. "Where did we go wrong?" Her phone buzzed. A text from Eric lit up the screen. "Mom, we need the space. Nadia's been asking for a home office. The garage is set up. Please don't make this hard." She read it twice. "Don't make this hard." She almost laughed. But tears came instead. Years of memories rushed through her. Nights she sat by Eric's side during his asthma attacks, lunches she skipped to save for his college tuition, endless weekends babysitting her grandkids so he and Nadia could go on dates. And now, she was a burden tucked away like an old winter coat. Her fingers trembled as she dialed a number she knew by heart. Susan answered after one ring. "Kalia, he left me in the garage," Kalia choked out. "I came back from Seattle and found my bags on the sidewalk. They've locked me out of my own house." Susan gasped. "What? You mean Eric?" "Yes. And Nadia left me a note, saying the garage is mine now." There was a pause. Then Susan's voice hardened. "Pack a small bag. I'm on my way. You're not staying there, Kalia. You hear me?" Kalia wiped her tears. "Okay." She looked around the cold, gray garage one last time. No kitchen. No warmth. No love. Just a reminder of how far love can fall when convenience takes its place. Susan's voice cut through the silence. "Kalia, what's wrong?" Kalia gripped the phone tighter. Her throat burned. "I need a place to stay," she whispered. "They put me in the garage." There was no pause, no need for details. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Dash dash dash. Kalia sat on the thin mattress, the cold garage floor under her slippers. Around her were boxes filled with memories, her wedding dress, baby shoes, old letters. Each one felt like a piece of her heart packed away. "They think they've won," she murmured to herself, wiping her tears. "They don't know who they're messing with." 20 minutes later, headlights swept across the driveway. Susan arrived with her nephew, Brian, a quiet man in his early 30s with thoughtful eyes and a briefcase. He looked more like a teacher than a lawyer, but he carried himself with calm authority. They sat around a folding table Susan had brought in. "So, you've been paying the mortgage?" Brian asked, skimming through the documents Kalia handed him. Kalia nodded. "Every month. Ever since Thomas passed away. But legally, the house was transferred to your son, Eric." "Yes. I didn't want to fight over paperwork after Thomas died. I thought I was doing the right thing." Brian frowned. And now they've moved you into the garage, while living rent-free inside the house. Kalia's eyes dropped. Yes. Brian leaned back. You have legal options. Their actions could be seen as fraud or breach of a verbal contract. At the very least, you're owed money. But Susan shook her head. She needs to speak to Eric first. Make them look her in the eyes. Let them feel what they've done. Brian hesitated, but Kalia nodded. I'm not ready to take my son to court. Not yet. The next morning, Kalia stood on her own front porch. Her knees were shaking. She rang the doorbell with the same hand that once held baby Eric. Nadia opened the door, her painted lips stretched into a fake smile. Kalia, we weren't expecting you. I need to speak with both of you, Kalia said. Her voice was calm, but her heart raced. Nadia moved aside. Of course. The living room looked unfamiliar. Her reading chair was gone. The photos of Thomas had vanished from the wall. A new rug covered the wood floor she and Thomas had installed by hand. Eric walked in, drying his hands on a dish towel. He stopped when he saw her. Mom, what are you doing here? Came to talk about the house. She didn't blink. Susan told me you're planning to sell it. Eric and Nadia exchanged a glance. We were going to tell you, once everything was finalized, he said, avoiding her eyes. Finalized, Kalia repeated, stepping closer. This is the house your father and I built. The place where we raised you. I've kept this roof over your head. I paid the mortgage, not you. Nadia crossed her arms. We know you're attached to the place, Kalia. But we have to think about our own future now. Kalia turned to her son. Is that how you see me now? An obstacle, a problem you had to move into the garage. Eric opened his mouth but said nothing. Kalia's voice broke as she said, all the years I gave you, every sacrifice I made, and this is how you repay me. The silence was suffocating. Finally, Nadia said, we offered you a space. That garage is a box, Kalia cut in. A box full of memories you want to erase. Kalia turned away from them and walked to the door. You won't have to move me again. I'm leaving, she said over her shoulder. But I'm not walking away quietly. I'm getting back what's mine. She stepped outside, heart heavy but spine straight. For the first time in years, she wasn't afraid to fight. Your family, I repeated, my voice low. And what am I then? Silence. Uncomfortable. Heavy. Eric wouldn't meet my eyes. His voice was calm but distant, like I was a stranger knocking on his door. Mom, you signed the house over to us. We're grateful. Don't use that word. My voice shook. Grateful people don't throw their mothers into garages. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. Here's every bank statement for the last 2 years. $1,867 a month. Do the math. That's over $44,000 of paid to help you. Nadia crossed her arms. That was your choice, Linda. We never asked you. No, you just accepted it. Month after month, knowing full well it was my money keeping the lights on. Eric sighed, exasperated. It doesn't change the legal situation. The house is in our name. So that's it, I asked. 35 years, erased with one piece of paper. Mom, we're trying to be reasonable. We can help you find a good senior apartment. A safe, clean place. That broke something in me. I don't need you to help me disappear, Eric. I need you to remember who I am. Nadia stepped forward, plastering on that cold, polished smile. Linda, I think you're letting your emotions cloud your judgment. Maybe we can revisit this conversation when... No, I cut her off. We're not revisiting anything. I looked at my son one last time. The boy I had carried, fed, protected. Gone. In his place stood a man who looked at me like I was a worn-out couch he couldn't wait to dump. I've stopped the automatic payments, I said quietly. His head snapped up. You what? If you want to sell my house, you can pay for it yourselves now. Nadia's eyes widened. You can't do that. What about our credit? Our plans? I hear Oakwood Hills has vacancies. Nice, quiet place. Senior friendly, I said, with the smallest smile. Eric's face turned red. He took a step forward. Dad gave me this house, he said through clenched teeth. It was never really yours. I blinked. That hurt more than anything. Not really mine, I whispered. Years of memories crashed through me, Thomas carrying Eric on his shoulders in the backyard, painting the nursery, the smell of cinnamon on Christmas mornings. Well then, said, standing straight, I suppose there's nothing left to talk about. I turned toward the door, my legs trembling. But before I stepped out, I looked back at the man I used to know. Your father would be ashamed of you, Eric. I paused. And for the first time in my life, so am I. I closed the door softly. That afternoon, I did something unexpected. A help wanted sign in the window of Rosie's cafe caught my eye as I walked back to Susan's. I stopped, looked at the sign, looked at myself in the glass. Why not? Later that evening, when I told Susan, she blinked. Waitressing, she asked. Kalia, are you sure? I waited tables all through college, I smiled. And I need more than a pillow in your guest room. I need my life back. Susan paused, then grinned. Well, Rosie's does have the best pie in town. 2 days later, I started. The first shift nearly broke me. My back ached. My feet cried. I dropped a plate. But the tips I earned were mine. That night, I got home and sank into Susan's old couch, holding the crumpled bills like they were treasure. I'd done something for me. Then I saw the phone, 6 missed calls from Eric. I hesitated. The first voicemail played. Mom, we need to talk. Nadia's upset. You didn't have to do all that. Can you just call me back? I didn't hit play on the others. For once, I didn't owe him an answer. Mom, the bank called. They mentioned something about a lien. What are you doing? Call me back. Immediately. I didn't even finish listening. I deleted the message. For once, Eric could wait on me. I stepped out onto Susan's porch, the evening breeze brushing against my skin like freedom. She handed me a glass of wine without a word and sat beside me on the swing. The sun was dipping low, coloring the sky in soft strokes of golden rose. How does it feel? She asked gently. I took a slow sip before answering. Like I've finally woken up. Like I've been sleepwalking since Thomas died. Susan turned to me, a small smile playing on her lips. And now I'm Linda again. She raised her glass. To Linda Harris. It's good to finally meet her. 3 weeks later, I knew the exact rhythm of Rosie's cafe. Mornings started with black coffee and old men reading newspapers. Afternoons brought teenagers and tired moms. My apron was soft with wear, and my body was sore, but my heart was lighter than it had been in years. I had a life again. My own. So when I spotted Eric standing stiffly by the hostess stand, a shiver ran through me. Mom, he said, unsure, almost awkward. Rosa caught my eye from behind the counter. Take 15 if you need it, Linda. I nodded and led Eric to a booth tucked in the corner. Away from the regulars who'd grown to know me by name. He sat across from me, eyes scanning my face. You look different. I smoothed my apron. I am different. He cleared his throat. I came to talk about the house. Then you're wasting your time. Please. His voice cracked just a little. Nadia and I were in trouble. The bank called. The lien is messing up our credit. We can't get approved for the new place. I watched him carefully, the tailored shirt, the polished watch, the soft scent of overpriced cologne. All of it screamed comfort, none of it earned. What do you want from me, Eric? He leaned in. We just need you to lift the lien and maybe resume the payments for a few more months. Just until we close on Oakwood Hills. I almost laughed. And what do I get in return? Asterisk. We'll make sure you're taken care of. Taken care of. What am I, a burden to manage? There's a really nice senior community in Westbrook. Stop. I raised my hand. I'm not interested in being tucked away. I've been taking care of you and everyone else my whole life. Now I take care of me. Eric sighed. The mask slipped. The charm dropped. Fine. What do you want, then? A cut of the sale. I looked at him carefully. This man with my son's voice but none of his heart. I want my home back. He blinked. Laughed, like I'd told a joke. That's not possible. We already made an offer on a house. Deposits have been made. Not my problem. His expression changed. Something darker flickered across his face. It is your problem, if you want to see your granddaughter again. Or any of us. Asterisk. I froze. There it was. My own son, threatening me with Emma. Are you seriously threatening to keep my granddaughter away from me? He faltered. A flicker of shame passed through him. But he didn't back down. I'm saying things would be easier if we were all on the same page. Families should support each other, Eric said, leaning forward. Nadia and I have a plan for our future. You're the only one standing in the way. I looked at him calmly, holding back the storm inside me. The same way I stood in your way when I paid for your college. Or when I took care of Emma every weekend so you two could have your couple time. Or when I signed over the house and kept paying the mortgage, just so you could buy that boat last summer. Eric flushed. That's not fair. No, I said, standing up and smoothing my apron. It's not. He reached for my arm. Mom, please. The house in Oakwood Hills is perfect. We can't lose it. For just a moment, I saw the little boy I once held through nightmares, scraped knees, and school plays. But that boy was long gone. What sat across from me now was a man who only saw me as a tool to use. I'll think about it, I finally said. But I want something in writing, from both you and Nadia. Eric blinked, surprised. Okay, what do you mean? Meet me tomorrow at Brian Wallace's office. 2 o'clock. Thank you, Mom. You won't regret this. But as he walked away, all I could think was, I already might. The next day, I arrived early at Brian's law office. My stomach was tight. I hadn't slept. I'd made a decision at 3 a.m., alone, wide awake, staring at the ceiling of the small room I now called home. At exactly 2 o'clock, Eric and Nadia walked in, dressed sharp, like they were going to a meeting, not a family talk. Nadia smiled, but it was thin and forced. Thank you for coming, Brian began. Mrs. Harris has considered your request regarding the property on Maple Avenue. We appreciate that, Nadia interrupted smoothly. I'm sure we can work something out that benefits everyone. Brian slid a document across the table. This is what she's proposing. Eric picked up the paper. I watched his face shift, from hope to confusion, then to full-blown anger. What is this? He barked. That, I said, my voice calm, is my condition. I'll lift the lien and resume the mortgage payments, but only if the house is sold back to me. Not some stranger. Nadia grabbed the paper. This is ridiculous. You want us to sell you the house for what's left on the mortgage. It's worth 3 times that. It's worth exactly what I've put into it, 35 years of payments, repairs, and memories. Eric's face darkened. You can't do this. The house is legally ours. With a lien on it, Brian added, which makes selling nearly impossible until it's resolved. We'll get our own lawyer, Nadia snapped. You can try, I said. But it could take months. Maybe years. Your credit will keep dropping. That dream home in Oakwood Hills. It'll be sold to someone else before you get a ruling. The silence was heavy. You planned this all along, Eric muttered. Since the day we moved you to the garage. I looked him straight in the eyes. No, I just stopped letting you use me. Asterisk. Nadia stood suddenly. We need to talk. Alone. Asterisk. They stepped outside. Brian glanced at me. You did the right thing, Mrs. Harris. I wasn't so sure. The betrayal in Eric's eyes clung to me. Was I really this cold now? Or just finally strong? A few minutes later, they came back in. Their faces were tight and closed. We'll accept your offer, Eric said stiffly. But I hope you realize what this means for our relationship. I nodded. I do. And I hope one day, you realize what it meant when you put my suitcases on the sidewalk. Hi besties. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of your worth, if it made you think twice about letting anyone walk all over you, don't just scroll away. Please drop a comment with the city you're watching from so I can see how far this message is reaching. Subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, raw, real, emotional stories about betrayal, karma, healing, and rising up. And don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who needs a reminder that your story isn't over, and neither is your power. Stay strong, stay bold, stay subscribed.